because this is very important. This is more important than anything else. But right next to this, paintball is important. Honestly, it is important. Honestly, when you act like it isn't important. Are you kidding me? Dude, I get to shoot somebody with a... Man, I would like a gun right in here in church. Just think, if the pastor had a paintball gun, every youth pastor should have a paintball gun. Some kid goes to sleep, you go, shh, boom! Yes, some kid is acting up, climbing up the wall, you go, bang, 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 shoot him right off. Like, awesome, red, blue, and yellow. It's like stain. I would love it. I think that God should allow that to happen. But probably isn't. Your parents would be mad. But just check this out. The parents come in the building and go, boom! No. The deacons come in, bang! Pretty soon you're arrested. Cops come in, boom! There's no stopping, because once you have a gun in your hand, you're like, oh God, oh, this is awesome. I just want to shoot somebody. So if that's you, baby, I'm with you. At 5 to 12, we're headed out to the games. And it's going to be such a great day. This day, did you see how beautiful it was? For the last 2 days, when I go to pray at the lake, it's like crystal. And I thought it was like that a lot, and Chelsea goes, see, it's like never like this. Because I saw the waves and all the other days, but the other day it's like the Jesus walk on water day, you know what I'm saying? It's like, ooh, nice, smooth, it's so cool. But we gotta get started. This question, can you read it, Chelsea?
Why did Jesus run away when he was little, 12, in the house of God?
So cool. That's a very good question. Why did Jesus run away from his parents in the house of God? I'm going to show you something about what happened. When kids grew up in the Jewish culture, remember, you got your culture. I got Dallas. I don't know if it's a culture or just weird. Whatever I got. But Jesus had a culture that the kids would go to school, and the school they would go to was the Bet HaSefer, that was like the elementary school, and the Bet HaMidrash, and that was the school of learning and research. And only the boys could move up to the second school, and then they would pick from their disciples. So we know that story, but check this out. When they would have the kids to test them, the priest would sit in the front row. So could you bring the priest would sit like this, the leaders that were the old dudes. I'm glad I'm an old dude right now. I'm going to put my feet up here a little bit. They would sit here. You know how teachers like teach here and you sat there? They did exactly the opposite. And they would sit there, and then they would have these kids come, and they would have to quote and speak. They would ask the kids questions, and the kids would have to give answers on their knowledge. And that's how you graduated. So at 12, Jesus was prime age to move up. And so he probably was, instead of running away, you know how like you're on vacation with your parents? I don't know if you've ever been somewhere. You go to a city or you go somewhere with your parents and they're shopping in the store. I got lost a lot when I was a kid because I was a wanderer. In fact, when I was real little, like 2 and 3, my mom would put a leash on me, like a little dog.
My mom too.
Yeah, because I was like, I would just take off. I would just like go somewhere. And I would go and get in people's cars. They'd come on, I'd be in the back seat. Hi. I mean, I was like weird. It was a weird thing. It was like 2 years old. I'm sorry, I don't remember because I was, I didn't have full control of my mind at that point. But the truth is, Mom would put me on a leash and they would hook me to the clothesline out in the backyard so I could go back and forth. But then I wouldn't run away out into the neighborhood. They would not be able to find me. And so I would come and my sisters would come home. My brothers and sisters are older than me. I was younger. And so I would go, please let me off, please, please. And if they let me off, I go, oh, I was gone. So some kids just like, they wander. So Jesus was probably, they're walking through town and they went to the temple. So instead of him running away to the temple, I guarantee they visited the temple. That's what you did. Jerusalem, the biggest thing was the temple. And you would never go to Jerusalem without visiting the temple. Over 3 million people a year during Jesus' time would visit the temple. The temple had all kinds of stuff for sale outside, all the sacrifice. It had a lot going on. It was like visiting Vancouver. It was like a major. And so they went there, and they went in the temple, and I can see Jesus. I guarantee you it happened almost every day, so I bet kids are going up there, and they're talking. And somebody says to Jesus, hey little boy, would you like to, whose son are you? I'm Joseph. You're Jesus. Well, why don't you come up? I heard about you. You're pretty good in your school in Bethlehem. Come up here. And so he comes up, and the parents are with this big group. They would travel in groups because they went for taxes. So they're walking, and they think cousin... How many have a big family? I have a big family. So you get lost in a big family. If you only got 2 kids, you don't get lost. But if you got like a bunch of kids, a grip of kids, and then your mom's sister comes over, and she has a bunch of kids, and then your other aunt comes over, and then your Uncle Louie, if you got an Uncle Louie, God help you. He comes over, and he got a whole bunch of kids, and then you got some people like, you don't even know who these kids are, but they're like here. So how many of you like, you sit down for supper, and you're like, who dat? I don't know. Oh, you just hang out. That's me. I'm the guy that ran over the neighborhood. And there's always a few of those. And so this family, so they're walking back, and then they notice that Jesus isn't with them. And they're thinking, I can see Mary, Joseph, have you seen Jesus? And he's like, so it's not like he ran away. He just got caught up in the temple. It was mesmerizing. Have you ever been a kid and you sat there and you're watching something on this big screen in the mall, and the whole family keeps going? And you're like this, you're living. You're watching like Ice Age or something, and you're the little guy waiting for the nut. And you're going, you're like watching it, you're like into it. You're like in the movie. And then you turn around and you're like, Mom? Jesus kind of like, they walked off and left him. And then when they came back to find him, he's in the temple. But these guys are sitting here, and they're asking him questions, and they're going, this kid, check this out, it's like he wrote the Bible. He speaks like no other kid. It's not like he memorized it. It's like he was there. They're getting it. Jesus is like a kid, so he's innocent. He doesn't know he's supposed to hide it and lie and all this. He doesn't do that. It's not even good at it. So he's not like launching his ministry yet, but they're just saying, Abraham, and he acts like he was with, oh yeah, Abraham. Well, Abraham, when he was walking, his right foot had a little bit of a, I don't know how he's saying it, but he was there. So he told too much, more than they learned, and they were astounded, so they kept him there. They didn't let him go. They kept firing questions, and these men are to be respected. His dad would respect these men. So he's kind of trapped. He's like, I'm up here on the stage, and they're asking me stuff, and I can't leave, and yes. And he's like, Mama, come get me. And sometimes your mama, you're like, you ran off. I did run off. I got the cut. My dad used to thunk me. Has someone never been thunked before? Is there anyone that, you've never been thunked? Cool. Can I, let me help you. I want to show you. Hey, okay, what's your name? Sean, this is so cool. Watch this. Watch this, Sean. I'm sitting in church and I'm listening and I'm talking to my friend. My dad would come from behind and he would thump me. Watch. It really hurts. It's like, wow, the inside of your brain goes, Sean, you want me to do it again? No, I just love thunking people. It's a cool thing. And so, yeah, now everybody's going to be doing it. Here we go. That's all right. Take that home with you. Thunk all the kids that didn't come to camp. Every kid that didn't come to camp go, hey, you missed a great camp. Bong. Come on. McFly, get him. You know what I'm saying? Bring him back to the future, if you will. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to set this up the same way Jesus did. We're going to bring those chairs up here, and we're going to bring some people. And so we got to leave an aisle here. And so you're going to read the questions that you wrote. It won't be the question you wrote, but I need some good readers. So Ashley, you're going to pick girl readers. Fernando, you're going to pick guy readers. I'm going to ask Pastor Emmanuel to come sit with me. I'm going to ask, I'm going to leave Pastor Irwin because we need security in this room at some point. I'm going to ask, but Pastor Irwin, you're not out of the loop. You're just not sitting here, but we need your advice and wisdom. I'm going to ask Pastor David to come and sit here. We're going to set these chairs right here, guys. I'll sit down. I'm kind of hyper to sit down, but I'll try my best. And then at the same time, I'm going to ask, let's see. Chelsea, come here. Canada, you're supposed to help me out. This is your role. Canada. Oh, Canada. Oh, that's a great song. Oh, Canada. would you do me a favor? Call like some lady. Not for you. Just you can. Well, not overlooking, but give me some girl wisdom.
Mom. Natasha.
Natasha, yes, Natasha. Can you do it with a baby? You can come from there. Stay there, but we need you to. You're going to help us answer some of these questions. Okay, all right. You're okay. You don't have to leave it, but if you want to come up here, we love it. Yes, Natasha, I'm so glad. We need Rob. Rob needs to come. Rob, can you come up? I know Rob doesn't like this. Honestly, he's probably one of the wisest ones, but he always hangs back. He's like giving the camp to us. I just want you to know, this is a genius right here. So if we can't have genius, now he can answer anything.
Benny Hinn.
Girl side.
Ben.
Girl side?
Girl side.
Okay. Now Donald, set up here. You gotta help me.
Judy.
You guys aren't out of the woods. None of you guys are safe from anything. Yanni, you're dead meat. You're not safe either. So, Fernando, here's what you guys are gonna do. You and Fernando are gonna go pick someone from the audience. They're gonna come up and read the 4 or 5 questions that are stapled together. So here's how it goes. How many of you are good readers? Let them see your hands so we don't scare. If you're not a good reader, you don't have to worry. I don't want to embarrass anybody. They're good readers. Okay, now you realize you're reading other people's writing. So these people are willing vessels. Look them over, Ash. Ashley, and here's what you're going to do. She's going to pick you, or Fernando's going to pick you. Fernando, do you see the hands? You ready? Okay. And let's start with Matt. Matt's going to start us off because he's bold. I don't want to scare somebody. He's not scared. He's scared of nothing. He's fearless. So he's going to read 3 questions or 4, whatever's in there, and they're kind of similar. So we stapled them together because they're kind of similar. First of all, the questions are all very good. When Matt finishes reading all 3 questions, we are going to attempt to answer the question. And how I want you guys to do it is, Matt's going to read to us. We're going to answer the question. But if you do have an answer, I want you to stand up and turn with a microphone and speak the answer, so that everyone can see it. So this is the answer. This is a Bible answer team right here. Here we go.
If your friend is a Christian,
Yeah, you're reading other writing.
but kills himself, do they go to heaven or hell?
That's good. Keep reading the next one. This is a series, so we're going to answer all these ones.
Is eternal salvation right if someone gives their life to Jesus or as a child?
Actually, you said your soul scan, and it's very small. I can't see it at all, so I would try to help.
Later, but later walks away from their faith. Will they still go to heaven? Does Jesus save even after your death? If you are a good kind of person, but don't pray to God, will you still go to heaven?
So I'll go to heaven questions. Suicide is running.
Will I go to hell if I don't accept Jesus in my life? You have to be really spiritual to go to heaven. What makes you go to hell?
Matt, you're awesome. Now, since you did this for me, I traveled all around the world. And when I traveled, before I left the house, I had to sort out all the Canadian coins. But I grabbed a bunch because I've been to Canada a few times. And I thought, well, they don't want Canadian coins. That was a stupid thing, because I should have brought them to spend them at the store.
That's real money.
Like, I'll take a Canadian coin, idiot. I know, I'm very sorry. I'm not very smart sometimes. But I brought you coins that it's not any value in your country, but in the other country it's a great value. And I'm going to give you a pile. And here's what you get to do. You get to give them away. And keep one for yourself. Some are from Peru, El Salvador, France, Denmark, Holland. They're from Mexico. They're from Guatemala. Huh? You get to go and give them out while we're here. Now stay with us, because he's going to give them out. Don't call for him, because he can give to anybody he wants. It's not. But it's cool to be a giver. When you stand on the stage, you're licensing yourself to be a giver. These questions are very deep questions. Whoever asked these questions have thought about these questions for a long time. One of you said, if I have a friend who dies and he's a Christian and he commits suicide, will he go to heaven? That's a good question. Some of you said, what about eternal security? What that means is, if you pray once and ask Jesus into your heart, no matter what you do after that, you go to heaven. Is that true? There's a bunch of questions here, and we're not going to get theological, but we are going to talk to you very real about how these questions impact your life. So anyone on the panel want to take one of these questions, or all of them first, and start us off? And I'll be glad to. If you're not, but I'd love you to help me. So who would want to take the first question? On my team right here. Natasha. You know, that's why I love you. You're like me, you can't help it. Yes.
I think you guys have asked a lot of good questions. And I asked a lot of questions like that well, I still do, but it's good to ask those questions and to really search and to pray. But I wanted to speak to being good. If you're a good person, do you go to heaven? Because I think that's a huge thing in our culture, our society, is most people just feel like they're pretty good, right? If you don't murder someone, or if you don't steal everybody's belongings or whatever, you think, well, I'm a pretty good person, I've done well, why wouldn't God let me in? It's not fair if God doesn't let me in, right? But I remember getting a teaching that really made it clear to me about goodness, is that's the beauty of Jesus, is that he gives us grace, right? What would you say to a person who had done a bunch of bad stuff? Would you stop them from going to heaven? No, because Jesus covers them with his blood. And we just don't know what good is as people. Not like what God knows good is. God is completely good. End of story. We can't even come close to it. All of us have sinned and fallen short of the glory of God, the Bible says. Right? So everybody's done something. But at the end of the day, if you were a person who said, well, as long as I do a ton of good things and just a little bit of bad, it should counterbalance, right? If I have enough, I've heard of the scale idea, right? You've got a scale, and if your bad things are just a little bit, but your good things outweigh your bad, you should go to heaven, right? There's some people who think that. But the thing is, we would be a terrible judge of who is good and who is not good. God is the only one who can do that. We would stop people from going to heaven that God's actually going to let in. In fact, we would stop ourselves, because we would condemn ourselves and feel too crappy about what we do. We need the grace of Jesus Christ. That's why we have salvation. It changes everything. It's not about being good. Jesus is the only one who is righteous. He is our goodness. When he died on the cross and we accept him, his blood covers us and makes us good, because he's covering us, not because we are awesome. Because we're all going to make mistakes. We're going to go out of chapel right now and we're going to make mistakes. But you don't want to be judged by other human beings. Trust me, they'll never send you to heaven, because everyone has a different idea of what good is and bad is, and how good someone is and how bad they are. We don't actually know what the scales are, and we don't know how good is or anything. So that just made things clear for me on that topic.
I love this scripture. Check this scripture out. God isn't willing that any should perish, but that all should come into repentance, that all should be saved. God actually tries to stop you from going to hell. Check this out. God puts blockades, God puts walls in front of you to stop you. The Bible says, the way of the transgressor is hard. That means the guy who's sinning, whether he's 15 or 45 or 80, it's hard for him. And why is it hard? Because God puts things in his way. Check this out. There's times I wasn't doing very well for God. I was young. It's because I was a wrestling champion. I thought I was all that. It's because I had girlfriends. They thought I was all that. They were stupider than me. But when I would come home, one of the blockades that God would put in front of me is I would come home and my mom would be praying. It was late. I wasn't supposed to be late. My dad would be waiting for me, more like to kill me. But my mom, my dad would I'd open the door, all quiet, shut the door, he'd go, Lloyd, hey, dear God, I'm going to die. Mom, but I would hear Mom in the other room. Probably this is why he didn't kill me. She would be praying for me. And I wasn't feeling very good about myself right then. I knew I was lying to my parents and it wasn't serving God. But that prayer would stop me. It would make me feel all bad. I'd be like, like the girls buzzing the phone and you're like, not now. You see what I'm saying? Because I'm home now. My mom's praying. Camp. This is a wall that God puts in front of you. So you're going the wrong way and you come to camp and you're like, I really don't want to come this year because she's really pretty, or he's like a handsome dog. You know, I mean, you don't understand it. I really don't want to come because you don't know what's in my pocket. We really don't care. We care what's in your heart. And so your pockets can change. Because I've seen a lot of kids, after an altar experience, go and take what's in their pocket and throw it, flush it down the toilet. Or I haven't seen them throw it in the outhouse, but that could happen too. That's a different story. So I'm just saying, it's like a cool scenario. That God puts things in your way to stop you. So the kid that commits suicide, you say, well, did he make it? That's what. Guess what? We say that too. Because the word is really clear on suicide. Here's what I have to tell you about the word. This is called preventive maintenance. How many of you know what preventive maintenance is? You kind of don't know that unless you get a brand new four-wheel drive Jeep Wrangler. Then you know what preventive maintenance is. If you got an old beater truck that's like, you'd be like, whatever, I'll change the oil when I get around to it. If you got a brand new four-wheel drive Jeep Wrangler, you're like, you take it in and they go, Pastor Z, you just had your oil changed. I go, well, could you change it again just in case? Because it's new. It's like, I don't want this to get old. I want this to be that. I'm taking care of it. And that's what preventive maintenance is. And so preventive maintenance means you take care of something before it happens. And so God does that with your life. And so here's the thing. When you have somebody who commits suicide, I should tell you what the Word says. And the Word says that if you commit suicide, you won't go to heaven. Do you understand? You took your own life, you won't go to heaven. This is the cool part of it. God isn't willing that any should perish. So immediately, God says, like he said, remember David? David was forgotten. And Eliab was standing in front of the priest. And the priest said, oh, he looks good. He looks strong. He's the oldest. It's God's way. It's the way it works. And God goes, no. And then he says this statement, man looks on the outward appearance, but I see the heart. And so God sees the heart, and sometimes psychologists, doctors, people will tell you he's not in the right state of mind when he committed suicide. In other words, depression got him so bad. It became so bad. God knows. God knows, and you know what? You know that when people commit suicide, they're so hurt. They're so given up. They're so that sometimes they're not really in their right mind. They just want to, they're trying to get rid of the pain. So the devil goes, got him. And according to the law, he got him. But God came to fix the law. And God goes, good, we do have a law. Bring him forward. He committed suicide. Make him stand before the judge. And the judge goes, God, you committed suicide. You will go to hell. And then he goes, Jesus? And Jesus goes, I was there right before he died, and he really was trying to stop. He went too far, and he couldn't get back, And I told him it's going to be okay. And guy goes, oh, Jesus is the advocate, the lawyer, the one that makes all the difference. And if he says you're in, you're in. It's an instant in. Jesus says he's not willing that any should perish. So how far do you think he'll go? A long ways. Does that mean you should commit suicide? No, baby, fight that. It's an evil spirit that erases everything that God has for you. It's the worst thing. The devil wants to destroy you. But the truth is, God knows our heart. And none of us know. So when you come to a funeral like that, the preacher can't go, he's in heaven. He doesn't know. The preacher can't go, he's in hell. But he can say this, the kind of God I serve will find a way to try to save everybody, unless here's the only way. Here's how you go to hell. You go to hell by rejecting God. You can reject him out of ignorance, and that's why we try to make sure that that's not the case. But you can reject. There's some people that no one went and told them about God. So God's going to judge them based on what they know. You understand what I'm saying? On what they've heard. But you and I, how many times we heard about God? This week alone, dear Lord, is God up. We are God loaded. So we got some big responsibility on our back. That's why I say, you've heard enough gospel to save you or enough to condemn you. Now, is there anybody else on the team wants to address any of those questions before we move on to the next set? Because we got a long ways to go and a short time to get there. Pastor David, I knew you.
I got just a quick word just to share with you. And I really believe that that's what the Lord is saying here this day too. That God looks on the heart. Man looks on the outside, but God knows your heart. And here Jesus is being crucified. It's a day of crucifixion. On either side of him, he had a criminal. And I want to encourage you as young people, I want to encourage you as people, that acknowledging God as King is one of the most important things. Let's pick it up here in Luke chapter 23, verse 38. It says, there was written a notice above him which read, "This is the King of the Jews."